The scent of sawdust and fresh paint, usually a comforting embrace, filled the workshop today with the acrid stench of broken trust. Every stroke of my hand sander, as I meticulously worked on a custom cabinet door, felt like a futile attempt to smooth over the jagged edges of a dream shattered. Lillian, a voice, overly sweet and laced with a condescending lilt, cut through the hum of the machinery. Still lost in your little woodworking fantasy, I see. I didn't need to look up to identify the speaker. Savannah, Noah's new business partner, the woman who'd seamlessly transitioned from a vague acquaintance to the architect of my professional nightmare. Her tailored silk suit seemed an affront to the honest grit and sawdust that defined our space. "Hello, Savannah," I responded, my voice flat, keeping my gaze fixed on the cherrywood grain. "I assume you're not here to admire my craftsmanship." She stepped further into the heart of the workshop, her expensive heels clicking a rhythmic, irritating counterpoint to the familiar creaks of the old floorboards. "Oh, I'm here about craftsmanship, all right," she purred, her crimson lips forming a perfect, unsettling smile. "Noah and I think it's time we discuss the future of Phoenix Designs civilly, of course." My grip tightened on the sander. Phoenix Designs? It wasn't just a business. It was Noah's and my brainchild, our shared vision for sustainable, bespoke furniture, meticulously built from concept to completion. Now, after his sudden, inexplicable departure and his abrupt partnership with Savannah, it felt like a hollow shell, echoing with forgotten promises. "There's nothing to discuss," I stated, my voice low and firm. "This workshop, this business, it's our legacy, Noah's and mine. We poured our lives into it." Savannah corrected, her smirk widening, a calculated cruelty in her eyes. "And since Noah dedicated years to this, we believe we're entitled to our fair share, especially with the Green Oasis project on the line. It's a lucrative venture, Lillian, far too grand for the small-scale operations you seem to prefer." The sander in my hand suddenly felt impossibly heavy, buzzing with a suppressed fury that threatened to shatter my composure. The same Noah who abandoned our partnership, leaving me to salvage every single client, every pending order, every shred of our reputation? I finally looked up, my eyes meeting hers across the workshop. That Noah. The one who vanished without a word, only to reappear on your arm, ready to claim what he didn't build. "He moved on," Savannah shrugged, a dismissive flick of her wrist as if discussing yesterday's weather. "Growth, Lillian. It's a natural progression in business. And your father, Robert, he understood that. He was even excited about the Green Oasis before, his health took a turn." The casual mention of my father, Robert, twisted the knife deeper. Dad had been more than just my father. He was a mentor to Noah, a silent investor in our early days, a staunch believer in the integrity of craftsmanship. His passing 2 weeks ago was still a raw, gaping wound, and this woman was picking at it with malicious glee. "My father wouldn't have supported this takeover," I stated, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hands. "He saw through people like you, Savannah. He valued honesty and hard work above all else." Savannah's smirk didn't falter. "We'll see about that. Your brother Caleb seems to have a different perspective. He's quite forward-thinking, unlike some." The casual mention of Caleb sent a jolt through me, a chilling premonition. Caleb and I hadn't spoken since Dad's funeral, a strained silence that felt like a betrayal in itself. He'd always been the ambitious one, the one who saw business in black and white, profit over principle. "You've spoken to Caleb?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, a knot forming in my stomach. "Oh, honey," Savannah stepped closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, a predatory glint in her eyes. "We've done more than speak. He's been very accommodating, very helpful." Her words hung in the air, a poisoned dart. Caleb, my own brother, conspiring with Noah and Savannah against me, it was almost too much to bear. "Get out of my workshop, Savannah," I demanded, my voice rising, my hands clenching around the sander. "Before I forget myself." She chuckled, a brittle grating sound that vibrated through the quiet hum of the workshop. "Your workshop? That's quaint. This Green Oasis contract alone is worth millions, Lillian. Did you really think you'd be building tiny chairs and custom bookshelves while the rest of us move on to real ventures? Noah and I will need at least a month to rebrand before we launch Phoenix Global Innovations. We plan to gut this place, give it a proper, modern overhaul. My father poured his life into building connections in this industry," I retorted, my voice trembling with suppressed anger, but my stance firm. He taught Noah everything he knew about design, about ethics, about respect for the craft. This isn't just about money. This is about integrity, about the very soul of Phoenix Designs. Integrity, Savannah scoffed, rolling her eyes. Wake up, Lillian, everything is about money. And tomorrow, when the contract signing goes through, you're going to learn that the hard way. It's a very public ceremony, darling. A real media spectacle. She turned to leave, pausing dramatically at the workshop door, her hand on the cold metal. Oh, and you might want to clear out your tools. Noah and I have big plans for this space. Don't want your sentimental clutter getting in the way of progress. As the door swung shut with a definitive click, the silence that followed was deafening. I looked down at the half-finished cabinet door, the smooth cherrywood now marred by the grime on my shaking hands, a visual metaphor for the state of my world. I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling, and dialed Lena, my best friend and legal counsel. "Lena, it's me," I said, my voice barely a whisper, a tremor running through me. "Savannah just paid a visit. Yeah, she's even worse than we imagined. Can you come over? There's something about the Green Oasis contract I need to discuss with you. Something big. I'll be there in 15 minutes. No traffic, I promise." Lena's voice was calm and reassuring, a steady anchor in my rising tide of panic. "Don't worry, Lillian. Your father was always a step ahead of everyone. He wouldn't have left you exposed." As I ended the call, my gaze fell upon a loose floorboard near Dad's old, battered drafting table. It had always been his favorite spot, where he'd sketched out countless designs, humming old jazz tunes. Something about the way Savannah had lingered near it sparked a memory, a faint intuition. I knelt down, my fingers exploring the worn wood, and found a small, almost invisible crack. With a bit of effort, I pried it open. Inside, nestled beneath a faded blueprint for our very first custom piece, was a small, weathered leather box. My heart pounded as I lifted the lid. Tucked beneath the blueprint was an unsent letter, its paper slightly yellowed, its edges soft. It was addressed to me, in my father's familiar, sprawling hand. Beside it, a tarnished brass compass, its needle still. "Well, Dad," I whispered, holding the letter to my chest, the compass warm in my palm. "Looks like you left me one last puzzle to solve." Lena arrived precisely when she said she would, her sensible briefcase in one hand, a carton of my favorite kombucha, the blueberry ginger kind, in the other. "I figured you'd need this," she said, offering the kombucha with a knowing smile as she walked into the workshop. I was still perched on Dad's old, rickety stool, the unopened letter held tight in my hands, the compass sitting on the workbench beside me. "You haven't read it yet?" Lena asked, setting her briefcase down and observing me with a quiet understanding. "I wanted to wait for you," I confessed, my voice still a little shaky. "After what Savannah said about Caleb, I don't know what to expect." "Your father was meticulous about information, Lillian," Lena insisted, her voice firm but gentle as she poured 2 generous glasses of kombucha. "He believed in having all the facts before making a move. Open the letter." With trembling fingers, I broke the fragile seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly, and that small, tarnished compass. "Dearest Lillian," I began, my voice a little hoarse, my father's familiar cadence echoing in my mind. "If you're reading this, then Noah and Savannah have made their move on Phoenix Designs. Knowing their ambition, I'm guessing it involves the Green Oasis contract. They always reminded me of vultures circling an opportunity, hungry for something they didn't earn." Lena chuckled softly, a dry, knowing sound. "He had a way with words, your dad." I continued reading. "The compass enclosed will guide you to the hidden compartment in my desk at the office. Inside, you'll find everything you need to protect what's yours. It's a testament to the fact that I never stopped looking out for you, even when I couldn't be there. Remember what I taught you about building. A strong foundation, built with integrity and truth, can withstand any storm, no matter how fierce. Love, Dad." I looked up at Lena, who was already reaching for her phone, a determined glint in her eyes. "You knew about this?" I asked, a faint hope stirring within me. "I helped him set it up," she admitted, her thumb hovering over the dial pad. "Your father came to me 6 months ago, right after Noah started getting chummy with Savannah. He suspected something was brewing, always did. He said he had a bad feeling about her, something predatory." Lena was already dialing, her voice crisp and professional. "I'm having a team retrieve the contents of that compartment immediately. top priority. And before you see what's there, Lillian, there's something else you need to know about tomorrow's contract signing. Your father, bless his strategic mind, added a very specific, very ironclad clause to Noah's partnership agreement just weeks before he passed. A what? I asked, utterly bewildered. A legal stipulation, Lena explained, her gaze firm. And trust me, it's going to dismantle everything they've meticulously built, piece by treacherous piece. A few hours later, as dusk settled over the workshop, Lena's team arrived. A young, serious-looking assistant carried a secured, heavy briefcase, placing it carefully on my workbench. Inside, I found a trove of documents, meticulously organized. Photographs, dozens of them, crisp and clear. Savannah, caught in hushed meetings with rival design firms, their faces shadowed and conspiratorial. Noah, his expression furtive, accepting suspiciously large cash payments in dimly lit parking garages. Scanned emails, printed from burner accounts, detailing clandestine meetings. Recorded phone calls, voices barely discernible but undeniably theirs. Dad had them investigated? I asked, my voice thick with a mixture of disbelief and a surging wave of protective pride for my father. Better, Lena's smile was sharp, almost triumphant. He had his own network, Lillian, a very discreet, very effective one. That compass, Amelia, it wasn't just a sentimental gift. It was a key, a very clever trigger, to a secret vault of information. He left no stone unturned. She pulled out a small, encrypted USB drive, its sleek surface reflecting the workshop lights. This contains detailed audio recordings of Savannah attempting to bribe Noah's previous investors to deliberately sabotage Phoenix Designs. When she and Noah first began conspiring, she wanted to devalue the company before they swooped in. My hands trembled as I picked up one of the photos. Is that Caleb? My brother's face stared back at me, looking distraught, his jaw clenched, as he met with Savannah in a sterile, impersonal office. Meeting with Savannah 2 weeks before your father's death, Lena confirmed, her voice softer as she sensed my distress. But look at the next photo. The second photo showed Caleb leaving the meeting, his expression twisted with disgust, a flash of righteous anger in his eyes. He was clutching what looked like a signed non-disclosure agreement. He kept the agreement as evidence, Lena explained, her gaze softening slightly. Brought it straight to your father, distraught, apologetic. That's when Robert knew he had to act fast, to accelerate his plans. But Savannah said Caleb was helping them. I trailed off, the pieces finally clicking into place. A confusing, painful puzzle now falling into a clear, albeit agonizing, picture. She made it sound like he was on their side, actively collaborating. Your brother's been playing a dangerous game, Lillian, Lena affirmed, her tone shifting back to professional, feeding them just enough misleading information to keep them confident, to make them overplay their hand, all while secretly helping your father gather concrete, undeniable proof of their conspiracy. He was a double agent, working for Dad. I sank back onto the stool, my mind reeling, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the deception and my father's quiet genius. Why didn't he tell me? Because Savannah needed to show her hand first, Lena explained, pulling out some legal papers from her briefcase, her eyes gleaming with tactical satisfaction. Tomorrow, when Noah and Savannah think they've secured the Green Oasis contract, when they're basking in the limelight, the initial agreement will seem to grant them full control of Phoenix Designs. They'll be on top of the world. What? I stood up so fast the stool nearly toppled over, a fresh wave of panic washing over me. Grant them control, after all this. Let me finish. Lena held up her hand, a small, reassuring smile on her lips. That's when the special clause kicks in. Your father set a meticulous trap, Lillian. The moment they legally accept the terms of the Green Oasis contract, the moment they put pen to paper, they automatically trigger a clause that exposes every single one of their fraudulent activities and their malicious attempts to undermine Phoenix Designs. Everything, the photos, the audio recordings, the incriminating agreements, the stock manipulation data, it all becomes admissible in court. It's an undeniable confession, locked in their own greed. I stared at the mountain of evidence spread across the workbench, a slow, terrifying, yet deeply satisfying realization dawning. He made them think they won, so they'd incriminate themselves. He lured them into a trap. Exactly, Lena's grin was triumphant, a flash of pure, unadulterated justice. The true Phoenix Designs ownership and the Green Oasis contract ultimately falls solely to you. Noah and Savannah get nothing except a very public, very humiliating dismantling of their reputations, their careers, and their freedom. And tomorrow, I asked, my voice barely audible, a strange mixture of dread and exhilaration swirling within me. Tomorrow, Lena finished her kombucha, her eyes sparkling. We watched them walk right into the meticulously crafted snare they designed for themselves. Your father's final lesson about the long game, about how true integrity always prevails, even in the darkest of shadows. One more thing, Lena said softly, just as I was starting to process the magnitude of Dad's plan. Caleb asked to see you tonight. He has something else you need to know before tomorrow, something personal. Tell him to come over, I said, a flicker of hope amidst the storm. Despite everything, he was my brother. It's time we finally talked, really talked. Caleb arrived after dark, looking nothing like the polished, ambitious brother I remembered. His usually sharp suit was rumpled, his tie askew, and his eyes were shadowed with exhaustion, framed by dark circles. He looked haunted. He hesitated at the workshop door, clutching a worn leather portfolio like a shield, as if unsure of his welcome. You look awful, I said, a faint, almost involuntary smile playing on my lips. It was the truth, and a tiny, fragile bridge between us. Yeah, well, playing double agent isn't as glamorous as the movies make it seem. He attempted a tired, strained smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Can I come in? I gestured to the stool across from my workbench, the one Noah used to sit on. Please, have a seat. I see you found Dad's insurance policy, Caleb said, his gaze sweeping over the spread of documents, photos, and recordings. He picked up one of the images of Savannah and Noah, his jaw tightening. Why didn't you tell me what you were doing? I asked, the question coming out sharper than I intended, laced with a mixture of hurt and a desperate need for understanding. He slumped onto the stool, the portfolio resting heavily on his lap. Because I needed to make it right, Lillian. After everything with Noah, after the way I distanced myself from Phoenix Designs, from you, after the initial investment went south, I was blind. I was chasing the wrong kind of success. I let them manipulate me with promises of expansion and easy money. I was an idiot. His voice cracked, filled with genuine remorse. You were my brother, I corrected, my voice softer now, the anger slowly dissolving into a painful empathy. You were supposed to be on my side. We were a team. I know, he choked out, opening the portfolio and pulling out a signed, dated promissory note. It was for $500,000. This is what Savannah offered me to provide misleading information about Dad's health, to suggest he wasn't of sound mind when he drafted the Green Oasis contract amendments, to paint him as senile, as incapable of managing his affairs. $500,000 to betray my own sister, to essentially desecrate our father's memory. I stared at the note, then at my brother, the enormity of his sacrifice settling over me. But you didn't take it. No, I took it straight to Dad. Caleb's voice was barely a whisper, thick with emotion. You should have seen his face, Lillian. Not angry, not furious, just profound disappointment. Like I'd failed him in a way money couldn't fix. That's when he told me his real plan, his true legacy. He said he needed me to help him set things right, to protect you and Phoenix Designs. There's more, Caleb continued, pulling out a small, unassuming burner phone. I recorded everything. Every meeting, every offer, every thinly veiled threat. Savannah, she's been orchestrating this for months, even before Dad got sick. A meticulous, chilling campaign. He pressed play, and Savannah's sharp, calculating voice filled the workshop, devoid of any warmth. Once Robert's out of the picture, we'll use Caleb's testimony about his fading mental state and Noah's long-standing, loyal connection to Phoenix Designs. We'll control everything. Amelia won't know what hit her. She'll be left with nothing but her sentimental little workshop. My hands clenched into fists, the rage a cold fire in my veins. When was this? I managed to ask, my voice strained. 3 months ago, Caleb replied, his face a mask of grim determination. But wait, there's worse. He fast-forwarded the recording. Noah's voice, now tinged with a self-important arrogance, echoed in the room. Once we have the Green Oasis project, once we've rebranded to Phoenix Global Innovations, we'll sell off the original workshop, liquidate the old designs. Amelia can go back to her little craft fair tables. She never understood the real vision anyway, too caught up in the past. "Turn it off," I whispered, the words like a stone in my throat. The betrayal was a physical ache. Caleb complied, then pulled out one final document, its pages filled with complex corporate jargon. "This is why I came tonight. Savannah didn't just want the money, Lillian. She wanted to dismantle everything you and Noah built together, to prove she was the superior visionary, to utterly annihilate your presence in the industry." "Prove what?" I asked, my voice raw. "For making Noah feel stifled, for making him cling to your shared, outdated ideals, for making him look less progressive when she introduced him to her network of innovators, for tying him down with your ethical practices." Caleb's words hit me like a physical blow, the gradual shifts in Noah, his dismissive comments about my designs, his growing fascination with Savannah's modern approach. It all clicked into place, a horrifying tapestry of manipulation. "She was a competitor's consultant for years," Caleb continued, his voice steady. "She planned everything, worked her way into Noah's life, into Dad's inner circle. This document proves she was systematically leaking Phoenix Design's proprietary information to rivals 6 months before Noah even approached her for a partnership. She was a Trojan horse, sent to undermine us from within." I snatched the paper, scanning the dates and encrypted file transfers, my mind racing. "Dad knew about this. Found out right before his diagnosis," Caleb confirmed, his voice heavy with emotion. "He was building a case against her, a legal one, but the illness, the cancer, it progressed too quickly." His voice trailed off. "That's when he started planning this instead. He said sometimes justice needs a more intricate blueprint, a more poetic resolution. The special clause. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be brutal, Lillian. They think they've got it all figured out. Savannah's even hired a major press outlet, a national news agency, to cover the historic signing, to solidify their new image as the power couple of sustainable design. She wants the world to see her triumph." Despite everything, a mirthless laugh escaped me, thin and sharp in the quiet workshop. "She hired reporters to document her own downfall. Dad would have appreciated the irony. He always had a flair for the dramatic, even in justice." The morning of the contract signing dawned with an unnerving, almost unsettling calm. The air was thick with expectation, a tangible hum of impending drama. Savannah's hired media crew was already buzzing around the lavish corporate boardroom, microphones gleaming under the recessed lighting, cameras poised, ready to capture every historic moment. "You should see her out there," Caleb announced, peering through the glass doors that separated the waiting area from the boardroom. He smirked. "Practicing her gracious acceptance speech, probably polishing her Oscar-worthy performance for the cameras." "Everything ready?" I asked Lena, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. I wore a simple, tailored suit, deliberately understated. Lena, on the other hand, was sharp, formidable, a silent weapon in a designer power suit. "All set," Lena confirmed, her voice a low, reassuring murmur. "The special clause is sealed in this envelope, along with copies of all the evidence. It's time-stamped, notarized, and legally binding. Once they accept the initial terms, it's over." A commotion in the hallway cut her off. Savannah's voice, loud and confident, carried through the heavy oak door. "This is where we'll put the new Phoenix Global logo. The old one is so provincial, Lillian, darling. So terribly humble. Places everyone," Lena muttered, straightening her jacket, a glint in her eye. "Let the show begin." Savannah swept into the boardroom first, a triumphant smile plastered on her face, followed by Noah, looking oddly tense, and the phalanx of camera crew. She paused, surveying the room as if it were already hers, then her gaze landed on me. "Lillian," she purred, a patronizing sweetness in her tone. "So glad you could make it for our big day." Noah nodded stiffly, avoiding my gaze, his hands clasped tightly in front of him. "Let's begin," Lena announced, her voice resonating with authority as she took her place at the head of the long, gleaming conference table. The initial reading of the Green Oasis contract proceeded exactly as Lena had predicted, a painstakingly detailed recitation of terms that seemed to grant Savannah and Noah everything they coveted. Phoenix Designs, including the valuable project, was to be split 60% to Savannah and Noah, 40% remaining with me. It was all a carefully constructed illusion. "I knew it," Savannah crowed, unable to contain her glee. She grabbed Noah's arm, squeezing it tightly. The future is ours, Noah. We're finally free of the past. A ripple of excitement went through the assembled media. However, Lena continued, her voice cutting through Savannah's premature celebration like a diamond scoring glass, there is a specific clause to this contract, added just before Robert's passing. A codicil, if you will. Savannah's triumphant smile faltered, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. A what? She asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. A legal stipulation, Noah explained, suddenly looking nervous, his composure visibly cracking. What kind of stipulation? Lena broke the seal on the envelope, her movements deliberate and precise. The acceptance of this Green Oasis contract is contingent upon a full audit and investigation into certain proprietary information leaks discovered in the months preceding Robert's death, as well as a review of all financial dealings related to Phoenix Designs since its inception. The room went silent. The media crew exchanged bewildered glances, their cameras still rolling, capturing every nuance of the sudden shift in atmosphere. What leaks? Savannah's voice had lost its confident edge, a hint of desperation creeping in. She stared at Lena, then at the documents Lena was already spreading across the polished table. Perhaps these will explain, Lena said, her voice devoid of emotion, sliding the damning photographs across the table. The clandestine meetings, the illicit cash transactions. Or this encrypted USB drive containing authenticated recordings of attempted sabotage and deliberate manipulation of Phoenix Designs' market value. Or these financial statements showing systematic embezzlement from Robert's personal accounts, funneled through shell corporations. Noah grabbed one of the photos, his face draining of color, his jaw slack. Where did you get these? He whispered, his eyes darting frantically between Lena and me. Dad had quite the network, Noah, Caleb spoke up from his corner, his voice resonating with quiet power. He stood beside me, his presence a solid, comforting force. Including recordings of you both planning to undermine Lillian and steal her intellectual property, to systematically destroy her reputation and drive her out of the industry. He heard every word. Savannah stood up so fast her chair screeched backward, toppling to the floor with a loud clang. Turn those cameras off now, she shrieked, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. Her face was a mask of terror and rage. Oh no, I said, rising to face her, my voice steady, my gaze unwavering. The cameras stay. You wanted to document this historic moment, remember? You wanted the world to see your triumph. Now they'll see the truth. You can't do this, she hissed, her eyes darting around the room like a cornered animal. Noah, tell them they can't do this. But Noah was still staring at the photos, his face a mask of shock and dawning horror. He looked utterly defeated. The clause is quite clear, Lena continued, her voice professional as ever, utterly unfazed by Savannah's outburst. Any attempt to proceed with this contract automatically triggers the release of all this evidence to the proper authorities. The choice is yours. Accept the terms and face the consequences, or walk away and still face the consequences. Choice? Savannah laughed hysterically, a wild, unhinged sound. What choice? You've trapped us. This is a setup. No, I corrected her, my voice clear and firm. You trapped yourselves. Every scheme, every calculated lie, every attempt to steal what wasn't yours, it all led to this moment. Every dishonest action was a brick in your own prison. This is your fault, she shrieked, whirling on Caleb, her finger pointed accusingly. You were supposed to be on our side. You promised. Caleb merely shrugged, a grim satisfaction on his face. I was, just not yours. I was on my sister's side, on my father's side, the right side. Noah, she pleaded, her voice cracking, do something. Say something. But Noah was already standing, slowly, shaking his head. He looked broken. It's over, Savannah, we've lost. The hell it is, this was supposed to be my triumph. My moment? Robert's voice, clear and strong, filled the boardroom as Lena pressed play on a video file from the USB drive. Dad's face, vibrant and resolute, appeared on one of the large media monitors, sitting at his old drafting table in the workshop. And if you're watching this, Dad's voice resonated, looking directly into the camera, it means you've shown your true colors, just as I knew you would. Ambition, unchecked by integrity, is a dangerous path. Consequences, my dear, are excellent teachers. Savannah's composure shattered completely. Her carefully applied makeup began to run, mascara streaking down her face as she backed toward the door, her eyes wide with terror. "This isn't over," she screamed, her voice shrill. "Actually," Lena said calmly, her voice cutting through the panic, "it is. Our legal team has already filed injunctions, and the SEC is waiting in the lobby to discuss the evidence of stock manipulation and corporate fraud. I'd suggest cooperating, Miss Cross. It might help with sentencing." As Savannah and Noah were led away by stern-faced officers, the cameras still rolling, capturing every desperate, humiliating moment, I felt Dad's presence, a quiet strength that had underpinned everything, a silent guardian in the room. "Well," Caleb said into the stunned silence that followed, a faint, wry smile playing on his lips, "I guess those cameras caught their historic moment after all. Just not the one they envisioned." The media frenzy that followed was exactly what Savannah had sought. Only now it was her spectacular downfall being broadcast to the world. By evening, headlines screamed across every news outlet. Corporate fraud exposed, Phoenix Designs scandal, business partners' betrayal uncovered. Local news vans lined the street outside the workshop, their satellite dishes pointed skyward, hungry for every detail. "You need to see this," Caleb said, his voice grim but with a hint of satisfaction as he turned up the volume on Dad's old workshop television. Savannah's arrest was playing on every channel, her once immaculate appearance utterly disheveled, her mascara-streaked face a stark contrast to her designer dress as officers led her to a police car, her defiant screams echoing. "The ongoing investigation into Phoenix Global Innovations," the reporter's voice droned on, "has uncovered multiple instances of corporate espionage, stock manipulation, and illicit acquisition of intellectual property, spanning several years and multiple victim companies." "Turn it off," I said, rubbing my temples, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. "I can't watch anymore, it's too raw." Lena burst through the workshop door, her phone clutched in her hand, her eyes bright with a mixture of vindication and professional triumph. "It gets better, Lillian. The SEC just called. They found even more. Shell corporations, offshore accounts, dummy investment funds, everything." Savannah wasn't just sabotaging Phoenix Designs, she was running a whole sophisticated network of corporate fraud schemes, meticulously targeting multiple promising startups across the country. "And Noah?" I asked, a flicker of residual hurt still lingering, a wound that might never fully heal. "Singing like a canary," Caleb replied, leaning against the workbench, a grim satisfaction on his face. "Turns out he's not so loyal when facing serious prison time. He's implicated her in everything, hoping for a lighter sentence." A sharp, authoritative knock at the workshop door made us all jump. An SEC investigator entered, a stern, unsmiling man in a dark suit, looking grimmer than before. "Miss Hayes," he began, his gaze sweeping over us, "we need to discuss some additional evidence we've uncovered. It's significant." "More?" I gestured for him to sit, my mind reeling from the sheer volume of revelations. "What now?" "We found encrypted files in Miss Cross's office suggesting this wasn't her first attempt at this type of corporate takeover," the investigator explained, his voice clipped and precise. "There are at least 3 other cases of her infiltrating promising startups, establishing a deceptive partnership, then systematically undermining the original founders to gain full control of their intellectual property and assets. Though she never succeeded on this scale before." Lena leaned forward, her lawyer's instincts kicking in. "Other startups. Specific industries." Yes, she would typically embed herself as a consultant or a minor partner, using her seemingly legitimate background to gain trust. Then she'd orchestrate situations to create internal discord, drive down stock value, and eventually force out the original founders. The investigator pulled out a thick folder, placing it on the workbench. "Sound familiar? The pattern is identical." "The consultant position," I whispered, the memory of Savannah's initial, seemingly innocuous approach to Noah flooding back. "It wasn't random, was it? She targeted him because of Phoenix Designs' reputation, because of Dad's connections." "No, it wasn't random at all. She specifically targeted Noah because of his connection to your father's vast industry influence and your growing reputation in sustainable design," the investigator confirmed, his gaze fixed on me. The partnership was just her way in, her entry point into the lucrative world of Phoenix Designs. My stomach churned, a deep, unsettling feeling. Years of quiet competition with Noah, the bitter taste of his betrayal, all of it suddenly shifted perspective. This wasn't just personal, it was a calculated, cold-blooded attack by a professional predator. There's something else, the investigator continued, his voice lowering, even more disturbing. We found this in her personal files, hidden in a false bottom of a decorative box. He handed me a document that made my blood run cold, meticulously detailed notes about ways to legally sideline me after the contract signing. Plans to frame Caleb for financial mismanagement to prevent him from interfering, and even chilling sketches of how she wanted to remodel the workshop. Starting with the demolition of Dad's original drafting table. She would have destroyed everything, I said flatly, the horror of it washing over me. Everything Dad and I built, every memory. She would have eliminated me completely. She never would have gotten the chance. Caleb growled, his face tight with anger, his hands clenched into fists. The investigator nodded grimly. This evidence upgrades the charges significantly, Miss Hayes. These detailed plans indicate premeditation and a clear intent to inflict serious harm. Combined with the extensive fraud charges and attempted corporate espionage, she's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum, possibly more, depending on the federal prosecution. After he left, we sat in stunned silence, the weight of the revelations pressing down on us. Then Lena's phone buzzed again, a sharp, insistent sound. "It's my contact at the SEC," she said, reading the message. Noah just finished his full statement. He's admitted to everything, including helping Savannah access confidential design blueprints, sensitive client lists, and strategic marketing plans before Dad's death. He gave her the keys to the kingdom. Did he know about her plans for me, to sideline me, to erase me? I had to ask, the question a burning ember in my chest. "No," Caleb answered, scanning the documents. According to this, she kept that part strictly to herself, probably knew he wouldn't have the stomach for it. He was greedy, but not that ruthless. A powerful thought struck me, illuminating everything that had transpired. Dad knew, didn't he, all along? That's why he put all this in motion. He saw her coming. Lena nodded slowly, her eyes filled with admiration for my father. He suspected Lillian. That's why he retained me, why he established the hidden data archives, why he systematically documented every interaction, every suspicious transaction. He wasn't just protecting his legacy. He was protecting you and the very soul of Phoenix Designs. He built an intricate shield around you. "Speaking of truth," Caleb said, his voice softer, a profound respect in his tone, "there's something else you need to know about Dad's evidence, something we found in his personal workshop safe this morning. It ties everything together. Back in Dad's original home workshop, a sacred space filled with memories, Caleb pulled out a weathered leather-bound journal. It was thick, its cover worn smooth from years of handling. The SEC found this when they were doing their final, meticulous sweep of Savannah's apartment," he explained, his voice low. "It was hidden in a false bottom of her desk drawer, incredibly well concealed. They almost missed it." "What is it?" I reached for the journal, my fingers trembling, sensing its dark significance. But Caleb held it back for a moment. "Before you read this, Lillian, you need to understand. Dad knew about this journal. He saw it. It's why he was so absolutely certain about Savannah's true intentions, about the depth of her malice." Lena leaned forward, her expression grave, her lawyer's mind already processing the implications. "Is this what I think it is?" "Her playbook," Caleb confirmed, his voice chillingly calm. "Detailed accounts of every company she's targeted, every scheme she's run, including her original horrifying plans for Phoenix Designs and for you." He opened the journal to a marked page, its corners dog-eared, and began reading aloud. "The Harrison family, Phoenix Designs, presents the perfect opportunity. Established reputation, innovative founders, a naive partner easily swayed by visions of grandeur. The sister Amelia, she trusts too easily, too emotionally invested in the craft. The patriarch is a weak link, clinging to old ideals, easily manipulated." My stomach churned, a wave of nausea washing over me as I heard her callous assessment of my family, of me. "Stop," I cried, unable to listen further. "You need to hear this, Lillian," Caleb insisted, his voice unwavering, though his own face was pale. He continued reading, his voice a steady drone that forced the words into my consciousness. "Phase 1 complete, partnership undermined. Phase 2, isolate the original founder from her support system. Phase 3, gain the patriarch's trust. Final phase, eliminate all obstacles permanently, through legal means or other methods. That's when Dad confronted her, isn't it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper, remembering Dad's sudden, urgent insistence on revising Noah's partnership agreement just weeks before he passed. Lena nodded, her jaw tight. He saw this journal. He showed it to me 3 months ago. That's when we started building the case against her, quietly, meticulously, behind the scenes. We knew we had to act fast. But there's more, Caleb said, his voice heavy as he flipped to another section of the journal, his finger tracing lines of text. She wasn't working alone. There's a whole network of people involved in these corporate raids, names, dates, offshore accounts, encrypted communication logs, everything. A true criminal enterprise. A sharp knock interrupted us. The SEC investigator from earlier entered again, looking even grimmer than before, his face etched with a weary resolve. "We've been going through Miss Cross's contacts, Miss Hayes," he announced, his gaze meeting mine directly. "Found something very interesting about her past. She's not who she claims to be, not even close." He laid out a series of documents on Dad's workbench, forged identities, multiple passports, various driver's licenses, all with different names, but chillingly, undeniably, the same face. Her real name is Veronica Hayes. She's wanted internationally for similar corporate fraud schemes, for intellectual property theft, for financial manipulation. Interpol has been looking for her for years. Veronica Hayes, the name hit me like a physical blow, a sudden, horrifying realization. The woman who vanished after that tech startup collapsed in Singapore. The one they thought committed suicide. Her disappearance was ruled a civil matter, a business failure, the investigator corrected. But yes, same person. She served time for intellectual property theft in Germany, got out, changed her identity, and started over. Your father was her biggest target yet, because of Phoenix Design's burgeoning reputation and the sheer value of the Green Oasis project. Lena was already on her phone, her fingers flying across the screen, a fierce determination in her eyes. "I'm calling the U.S. Attorney's Office. This changes everything. With these priors and the international warrants, she's looking at life in prison. This is a federal case now." "There's something else," the investigator added, his voice solemn. "We found this in a hidden compartment in her safety deposit box. It was the only thing she kept there." He handed me a small, encrypted data chip, warm from his hand. "It's footage of your father confronting her about the journal. He knew she documented everything, thought you might want to see it." With shaking hands, I plugged the chip into Dad's old workshop computer. His face, vibrant and alive, filled the screen, sitting in this very workshop, looking directly at Savannah Veronica. "I know what you're planning, Veronica," Dad's voice, strong and unwavering, was steel. "I've read your little journal. Quite the career you've had, Margaret, or should I say, Veronica." Savannah's face on the screen went white, her composure utterly gone. "How did you?" she stammered, her eyes wide with terror. "Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the person trying to dismantle my daughter's dream, to destroy her life's work? I've known who you are since the day you first approached Noah. I've known your real name, your real history, every scam you've pulled. Then why did you let me continue? Why didn't you stop me?" Savannah Veronica hissed, her voice laced with a desperate fury. "Because sometimes the best way to expose a parasite is to let it think it's thriving, to let it gorge itself until it's too bloated to escape the trap." Dad leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "You're finished, Veronica. Everything you've done, every dream you've crushed, every life you've ruined, it ends here. With me and with my daughter. You're dying," Savannah Veronica spat, her face contorted with rage. "You can't stop me. You're a dying man." Dad's laugh was cold, unwavering, filled with a profound, knowing satisfaction. "My dear, I already have. You just don't know it yet. You've walked right into your own undoing." The video ended, leaving us in stunned, awestruck silence. "He knew," I whispered, tears finally escaping, tracing warm paths down my cheeks. "He knew everything right from the start, and he built an airtight case. He sacrificed his peace of mind in his final days to protect me. One that would protect you and expose her entire network of deceit," Lena added, her voice filled with admiration for my father's foresight. "The FBI wants to talk to you tomorrow, Lillian," the investigator said, gathering his documents, a respectful solemnity in his voice. With this journal and your father's evidence, we can bring down her whole organization. It's a monumental case. The judge's final pronouncement echoed through the courtroom like a solemn, undeniable bell. In light of the overwhelming evidence, the pattern of premeditation, and the additional federal and international charges, this court sentences Veronica Hayes, also known by her aliases including Savannah Cross, to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Savannah Veronica stood rigid in her orange prison jumpsuit, her face pale, devoid of all the triumphant arrogance she'd once exuded. When they led her past our bench, she stopped, turning her head, her eyes burning with impotent rage as she met my gaze one last time. "I hope you're happy," she hissed, her voice hoarse, devoid of its former purr. "You've ruined everything I worked for. My empire is gone." "No," I replied calmly, my voice steady, my gaze unwavering. "You did that yourself, Veronica. The only difference is that this time, your target saw you coming. And this time, she fought back." The bailiff pulled her away as she tried to lunge forward, her fury consuming her. Behind her, Noah, looking small and defeated, was already being led out, his own 15-year sentence stretching before him, a grim horizon. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us, a chaotic sea of flashing cameras and shouting questions, but Lena's firm voice cut through the cacophony. "My client, Lillian Hayes, has no comment except to say that justice has been served, not just for her and her family, but for all the innovators and dreamers affected by these predatory corporate crimes. Phoenix Designs will continue its mission of integrity and honest craftsmanship." Back at the workshop, the air felt lighter, cleaner, as if a great weight had been lifted. Caleb was waiting, a faint smile on his face, holding a small, intricately carved wooden box. "The SEC finished processing Dad's office," he said, handing it to me. "They found this hidden in his old drafting table. It was the only thing left untouched." Inside the box, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single, gleaming brass compass, the same one Dad had given me in the letter. Beside it, a small, handwritten note: "For when your vision blossoms, check the original blueprint cabinet." The true compass guides more than just direction. The original blueprint cabinet in the workshop had always been Dad's private archive, a repository of his genius. I hadn't looked inside since his death, unable to face the ghost of his presence. "Want us to come with you?" Lena asked, sensing the profound significance of the moment. I shook my head. "I need to do this alone." The brass compass fit perfectly into a small, almost invisible keyhole on the cabinet door. With a soft click, it opened. Inside, nestled among old, rolled-up blueprints for projects long completed, was a large, heavy envelope with my name on it, written in Dad's unmistakable hand. Inside was a deed, a business license, and another letter. "My dearest Lillian," I read aloud, my voice thick with emotion, "by now justice has been served and the truth has come to light. But justice wasn't the only thing I wanted to cultivate in this workshop. I built more than furniture. I built resilience. Resilience for you to find your strength again, to construct new dreams despite the shadows others cast upon you. The deed in this envelope is for the vacant lot next to our first small storefront, the one we started Phoenix Designs in. I bought it the day after I confronted Veronica. It's time for Phoenix Designs to expand beyond these walls. Your talent for bringing innovative designs to life shouldn't be limited to one space, to one dream. Remember what I taught you. The strongest structures are built on a solid foundation, even after a storm. You've weathered your tempest, Lillian. Now it's time to build anew, to create your own legacy, unburdened by the past. Love always, Dad." I walked back into the main workshop in a daze, clutching the deed and letter, the weight of Dad's foresight both humbling and empowering. Caleb and Lena were waiting, their faces expectant. "Well," Caleb asked, his eyes shining. I spread the deed on the workbench, smoothing out the paper. "He bought me the lot next to our first store. He wanted me to expand Phoenix Designs, to build something even bigger." "That's not all he did," Lena said, pulling out her tablet, her fingers flying across the screen. "The Phoenix Global Innovations trademark was registered 6 months ago. He set up everything, detailed business plans, secured patents for your unique designs, even arranged initial funding for expansion. All it needs is you, Lillian. Your vision." "And us," Caleb added, a genuine, joyful smile spreading across his face, a rare sight in recent months. I've learned a thing or two about corporate strategy and ethical business practices these past months. Someone had to keep the designs secure, the records clean. I'm ready to help you build this properly, the way Dad would have wanted. A knock at the door interrupted us again. The SEC investigator entered, looking pleased, a faint smile on his usually grim face. "Just thought you'd want to know, Miss Hayes," he said. "3 more victims of Veronica's schemes have come forward with their testimony, emboldened by your case. And with your father's meticulously collected evidence, we're looking at dismantling over a dozen ongoing fraud operations. It's a clean sweep." "Dad would have liked that," I said, a profound sense of peace washing over me. He always believed every truth and every honest endeavor finds its way into the light eventually. He always said, "Build with integrity and the rest will follow." "Speaking of truth," Caleb said, after the investigator left, pulling out his phone. "I found something else while organizing Dad's old blueprints in the cabinet. It was hidden right at the very bottom." He showed me a photo of a small, intricately engraved brass plaque hidden beneath a dusty blueprint roll. The inscription read, "For Lillian, who builds not just with wood, but with heart, resilience, and an unwavering spirit." He put that there right after Noah left. I realized, tears brimming in my eyes, but these were tears of gratitude, not sorrow. He knew even then that I'd find my way back to building, stronger than ever. "So," Lena said, pulling out her legal pad with a familiar, decisive glint in her eye, "should I start drawing up the new business papers for Phoenix Global Innovations? Your father laid the groundwork. Now it's your turn to raise the roof." I looked around our workshop, at the familiar tools, the unfinished projects, the echoes of dreams both broken and rebuilt. Beyond them, I could see the future Dad had meticulously planned for me, not just justice, but boundless growth, not just survival, but flourishing. "Yes," I said, feeling a surge of strength I hadn't felt in years, a renewed purpose settling deep within my bones. "It's time to build something new, something extraordinary." To Dad, Caleb raised his coffee mug, a genuine, hopeful light in his eyes. "To justice," Lena added, clinking her mug against his. I picked up my own mug, thinking of blueprints and compasses, of truth and new beginnings, of the unseen hand that had guided me through the storm. To building anew. Through the workshop window, the setting sun cast long, golden shadows, illuminating every speck of dust dancing in the air, each one a testament to Dad's unwavering belief that even after the deepest betrayals, the most resilient dreams can always be rebuilt, stronger and more beautiful than before.